Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Come on to save my soul. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Pop said, save my soul. 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 Save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Won't Pop said, save my soul. 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 Won't Pop said, save my soul. Pop said,
Hi, Bella!
save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Won't Pop said, save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Pop said, save my soul. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. I was walking out one evening late.
Headed for the riverside, around us fuss and fight.
All right, welcome to Not My Rabbit Hole tonight. I've been looking forward to doing this show. I apologize for having it take me so long. I've been through like some crazy YouTube stuff that caused me a bunch of stress, and then I got a sinus headache that got me maybe ill. If you've been looking at my post, you probably heard that. And then today, right before the show, And you guys, I've done a lot of panels, right? I've done a lot of shows, not just like on YouTube or on the internet, but even before that. Like I've done radio shows. I've done, I did, what was it, Comedy Nation, where, let's see, John Fugelsang was on some of the shows. Rick Shapiro, Bill Bronner. They have these really strong, like political pundits, and we used to get up and do like we have a topic, and we do a round, and then every person would do a stand-up routine on that topic for 4 minutes, and then we would have a round robin discussion on it. So I've been doing, like these kind of shows, whether I do it by myself or do an interview, or, I'm with comedians, or I'm in a show taping on a panel. I've been a moderator for just a whole bunch of things, right? And tonight I had one of the worst experiences. I was treated the worst I've ever had happen to me on a panel. And I've been accused of some of the most heinous, worst things, which I'm not even going to repeat in the show. And it was really difficult for me. I cried. I had to pull myself together. But the show must go on, right? And then I thought, just as maybe just for me, and then maybe just for us in general, because I know the world is really rough right now. A lot of us that have been interested in the UFO community, or whether or not UFOs exist, or what is our reality, all of it. And even just people that just enjoy a good conspiracy, which sometimes I'm just like, I love looking at conspiracies, possibilities of what might be, because even in the science world, we really still don't have it. We're still discovering, it's nothing is solidified. I know that humans, we want to solidify things. We feel more secure when we understand what we're going to do tomorrow, how it's going to be, what happens after death, all these questions, like, what is it? Do we really come from, are we really, is a chimpanzee, is a monkey our common ancestor? All of these things. No, I'm not related to a monkey. I've got alien DNA. I'm definitely like, I'm Rudolph the tall white alien, right? But the world's really weird right now. Like, not only how, our interpersonal relationships with people, and the things that we're discovering in society, our political landscape that we have right now. Are we, is there global warming? Is there this? Is there that? It's really hot right now. It's like there's no real security, and then people aren't being kind to each other anymore. I don't think in many ways we're not being kind. But at the same time, my mom texted me. She moved. She was able to like get her apartment finally together, because it was really hard for her. They brought in a whole bunch of boxes, and they weren't labeled correctly. And, she's 81 years old and doing really good, but it was just really, it's been really, really rough. And today she sent me pictures of, like, she texts me in the middle of all the drama, in the middle of all the hard stuff. She texts me like the kitchen with the hardwood floors, beautiful. And I could tell that the kitchen was all put away, and all the boxes were put away. And, there was the hardwood floors, I saw the living room and what progress she made in the living room. And I was so happy for her. And I was, texting back and forth. And she has this little, how we all have our avatars. My mom has an avatar with, it's a lady, she's got gray hair, and she's like smiling, she loves her, I have my avatar, and, I have to look, like, for me, I'm like, okay, but that's where the love is. Sorry. Give me a moment. What a way to start, right? Right? That's where the love is. Like, so just like for a moment, just take a moment and let's just focus, all of us, whoever sees this at whatever time you see it, just take a moment and think about where your love is. Like where the joy is. Like where the special moments are. Where the things that matter, because they're greater than the other stuff. No matter what we think, that's part of what makes us us. That is part of the human experience. And so I just wanted to share that. I was meaning to shift in energy. I wanted to be more inspirational than this. I've been crying a lot lately. Okay, sorry, Bella. I didn't mean to do that. Thank you for telling me that I'm a good sister. But I put the wrong thing up, but you guys are saying a lot of stuff. Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna try you know me. That's why you kind of tuned in, right? I'm a little sarcastic. I kind of point things out. I kind of call bullshit on a lot of stuff. And one of the people that I had a lot of bullshit for is Captain Mark Richards, right? Because he's doing life without parole in prison for masterminding a murder of Richard Baldwin back in the 1980s. It was one of the first cases that had the Dungeon and Dragon kind of thing going on with it, but it was definitely. It's an interesting case, really. I mean, it's like Charles Manson, the Manson murders, but I mean, of course, not like the Manson murders because there was multiple people and this, that, and that. But the mind control of what he did to some young people that maybe, thought they didn't have as much opportunity in life, or they might have been like lost boys, right? And he took these young people. Somehow he was able to influence them, be a mentor, be something that they're trying to look up to. Maybe they didn't have a father figure, whatever, right? And he groomed these young men to murder somebody for him. And behind that was, it was in Marin County, it was almost like he was trying to get a group, like a militia kind of thing, to take over Marin County. Okay. There was a map. There was also a spirituality connection that was, that had to do with like the Arthurian legend. And there was a mind manipulation that went on that made him do these things. And Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, whom, just spoke at the Truth Tour, right, in San Diego, and was, they were all applauding for her and everything, and woo, Wano Staven is, JFK Jr., yes, I know it, everybody, I know it, right, and this kind of stuff going on, you're like, whoa, have we, lost our mind? Meanwhile, this, honey bear of a Trump head is going by for people to buy, it's just like, what are we watching here? It's like Morton. I don't know if you guys remember Morton Downey Jr. or whatever, right? And she's sitting there and she's mentioning UFO disclosure, Captain Mark Richards, draconian and blah, 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 and, reptilian. He affirms that the reptiles actually really exist. And by the way, Roseanne and Monique, I just saw a video, I haven't watched it yet, but where they're talking about reptilian people. Now, I'm not saying reptilian people may not exist. And by the way, reptiles' lives matter too. I'm sorry. I'm joking, right? Okay. somebody's gonna go, she's a reptile. She's a reptile. I get that after I do these kind of videos. I got somebody who leaves a comment like, you're just trying to be like a blonde, blue-eyed, you're just a blonde, blue-eyed reptile. Well, first of all, I don't have blue eyes. And second, this is not blonde, it's white because I lost my hair color. But thank you for thinking that it was blonde. And by the way, this is not a wig, okay? I just saw a tweet. I don't know how Titus Frost, I don't. You guys know. You don't know who this is, but some people do. Can see my Twitter tweets and take my picture and then make a comment on it and then say my wig. Okay, like Titus Frost is tweeting that this is a wig too, and I'm like, how the hell did he's stalking me? I must be important. Okay, so but I get that, right? A lot of weirdness happening right now. So we all know that Captain Mark Richards is married, right? Or was married to Joanne Richards. And Joanne would go out to a lot of the UFO events on his behalf. I don't know, I think there was a book too, right? And she's written a few books, so she's able to like kind of advertise her books and everything. And she went in and she became the representative, the voice, the mouthpiece for Captain Mark Richards, who's in prison. And by the way, Carrie Cassidy was not really allowed to write anything down or have a paper and pen when she actually did her interview. So she'd have to see him and then repeat it outside by memory and tell us what Captain Mark Richards said, right? Don't you think that's bizarre? Because there's been a lot of people that have been in prison. That's what I remember the first videos like that. But there's a lot of people that have been in prison, right? I don't know. I think I saw Jeffrey Dahmer being interviewed with his father, where he said that he accepted Jesus Christ as his personal savior before his death by an actual news media. So the fact that Carrie Cassidy can't go in and work her way in to see if she can get him on camera is kind of interesting. Well, maybe they just don't think she's legit. Okay. So here we are in this UFO community, and we see these videos of Carrie Cassidy out at her car repeating exactly everything that, Captain Mark Richards is saying about his UFO disclosure. And a bunch of people bought it. What's wrong with us? None of us have actually even seen this man speak on camera saying what he's saying, because it's a huge difference between hearing somebody like Carrie Cassidy repeat what somebody else said. How do we know she even went in there? What if it's all made up by Carrie Cassidy? Do we even really know that? Or Joanne Richard, who married him. Do we really even know? See, because here's what the problem is. You know how people got those young men, those lost boys got their minds infested and they believed in something, they actually murdered in it for it? Well, these people can do that on a larger level. They can create a myth, a story, a belief. They can weave in an Arthurian legend into it. They can do, Dracos and spirituality and different UFOs and higher beings and an ascension and I am God, right? And those people that have been in those kind of whatever communities, there is a cult aspect to some of them, and some people have suicided themselves, right? There was somebody that was able to get people to do that on a mass level. So let's think about, I think it's really important, especially in this scenario, to think about where are we getting our information at? Why is it that I have that spiritual belief? Is it really a positive thing? Is it good for humanity? Am I thinking on my own? Is there proof that reptilians exist? Other than people saying that they are. Because I have never seen anybody shapeshift. I've seen people's eyes go black, but I haven't seen anybody shapeshift. So, this is an interview that Joanne Richards did. It's called Crime Over Cocktails. And she's talking about her divorce for the first time. She's actually left him. And, you know, when she tells her story, tells what happened to her, you know, Joanne's been married several times. And, you know, she had an alcoholic father. It seemed like a lot of her relationships were demeaning, either verbally abusive or physically abusive. There was a feeling of never feeling good enough. And, you know, as a woman, I can identify with that. You know, take it from me. I've not gotten it right. I date my father over and over again. And I date the wrong kind of men. They, you know, I have been in a domestic violence situation. That I was married once, and that was the reason why I'm not married to him anymore. However, I've only been married once, all right? And I can sit here and say, yeah, I failed too, right? At some point too, you got to try to get it right. You got to take responsibility for it. You got to, okay, what is it? What is it in me that makes me have an unhealthy pairing with that person? Like, what is it about that dynamics? Because those two people are going to find each other. It doesn't matter no matter where you turn, whatever. I even had a dream once that I saw the same. I was dating the same. Every man I dated looked the same, and I couldn't tell them apart. That's because they were the same. Really, right? I mean, look at. You know I'm not good at relationships because I was in a 6-year relationship with Stephen D. Kelly, and that's the guy who believes he's a Jedi warrior and that there's children being trafficked under the Getty Museum. So in reality, I'm no different than her in many ways. Like, I can't sit here and go, wow. I mean, okay, granted, you know, my ex isn't in prison, you know, without parole, right? I mean, I guess in that sense it's better, but the overall end result, you know, like when women talk about like how we struggle this way, I want to give Joanne a bit of compassion in that, or any woman who is looking for love or looking to be loved or to be accepted for who they are, because I know how difficult that quest is. Because I've never had it. Okay. Like, maybe someday I'll have it. I mean, like, I haven't lost hope, but I've never had it. I mean, I've had men that I've loved. I've had men that I've been with, had relationships with, and they're still my friend. Matter of fact, I love men. I to be honest with you, I most of the time prefer to be around men more than women. I'm sorry, you know. I mean, there's some women that I do like, or there's some friends that I have that are women. I've had some really great female friends, but by and large, I've spent most of my life with men, working with men as a comedian all the time, you know. I even like male cats better than female cats. But I've never had a real healthy, loving relationship with somebody that cared about me to have my back, and I would do the same. Like, that didn't demean me, or even in some ways I would say compete with me, because a lot of them were, you know, my husband was a comedian. So that being said, let's get on and listen to the episode. Okay. This is fair use, and we are just observing and critiquing the public. And it is allowable by law. So there's the banner. And now this is strictly audio. So, and I'll make sure that I will have this link in the description if you want to listen to it on your own without my commentary or whatever. And this is on Apple Podcasts, and this woman has kind of an interesting format. She does talks about crimes that have happened, but it's more like, what do you do in the aftermath? And so I'm assuming, you know, that I'm thinking the reason why this is on here is because she's a prison wife, and it's it's Mike Richards. Okay, so I think it definitely fits in with the theme of her podcast. So let's get it started. And then
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
When heartbreak rings, answer the door.
I think she's been married 9 times, actually. Oh no, I'm not gonna be able to stop it.
It's like, happy. Before we got on here, it's like, well, it's like
.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
When heartbreak rings, answer the door.
Hey everybody, welcome to Crime Over Cocktails. I'm Tiffany, your host, and today I'm with my guest, Joanne.
Hi, Tiffany. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here.
And I have my mock cocktail.
Yeah. I got my vodka. I love
Very
my
good.
vodka.
Me too. I tried various vodka drinks on the cruise I was on last month. So.
Vodka'd out.
Do I like vodka or tequila? And vodka and rum certainly made it over the tequila. Not sure where to start, but I could say I've been married almost as many times as Elizabeth Taylor. That's not my best claim to fame, but I can say that, and I'll be happy to share why. I've been married 7 times, and most of those ended in divorce. Pretty much most of them did. One died. Not my fault, but one died, and the rest pretty much ended in divorce. And there's been some kind of abuse and definitely codependency that went on with each one of those. So now I'm on a new path, and people are probably going, well, it's like I'm not laughing it off.
I'm going to stop it there for just a second. I find it interesting that she said, one of them died. Not my fault. And I'm wondering, like, I'm not saying that, that makes her guilty or anything like that, but it's almost like I'm wondering, well, is that what people have made assumptions about? It just seems like, and I just find it odd. I'm not sure if I'm just trying to imagine if, like, Elizabeth Taylor, she was married 8 times and I did one of them die, and would she go, oh, it's not my fault? Anyway, it's just an interesting little thing. I just want to make a note of that.
Off because it wasn't bad and hard and things like that. But I've realized, because I keep learning lessons with each marriage. And as I was just talking to a friend before we got on here, it's like, I don't see myself as a victim, and I have moved on from all that, and, I'm strong. So it's like, it's good. I'm not happy that I had to learn those hard lessons, but I guess I had.
And I think right now, like, I think she sounds like she's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to talk about these kind of things, I think.
I had to learn it for a reason.
No, absolutely. Same thing with me. I feel like almost
I just want to put that out there too. I think there's a little bit of shame that goes along with having a failed marriage, or also even if it was abusive. It's almost like when you've been abused by somebody, emotionally, mentally, verbally, and physically. I always felt that I never envisioned myself they go, oh, that's not going to happen to me. That would never happen to me. And then you realize that it does happen to you because like you'll end up being with somebody, and when the first time they do something that is like the first incident, right? You tell yourself, oh, they're having a bad day, or it'll get better, I understand, or whatever. And you just think that at some point it's going to get better, and it doesn't. It gets worse. And so, I just want to like also point that out, that when you're vulnerable about these kind of things, that happens. And I can hear that in her in the beginning of this show.
Every relationship, you take something from it. And, you can have friends telling you about things and you got alarm bells ringing in your head because you're like, no. You have no idea like the path you're going down.
Right.
And you have to learn the hard way sometimes. But I honestly and truly feel like it makes you who you are today. And I wouldn't change who I've become for anything.
Oh, good. Well, and, I'm working with a few different mentors now. And it's like, well, and especially with COVID, gave me some extra time to work on this. But now that I'm in therapy, and basically your bucket list for the kind of relationship you want. And so I'm getting very clear on that. And I don't want to use bad words on your show because I don't want to offend anybody. But it's like, it's like I have learned that I don't need to take any crap off of anybody. And that doesn't mean I need to be selfish or.
Crap is such a minor word. I don't even know if that's a swear word. Is that a swear word anymore? Is it offensive to say crap? Oh, crap.
Not the authentic me, but I just don't need to put up with the crap. And I'm old enough so that I really don't need to do that. I can be picky and happy.
Yes.
and not necessarily lonely, but it's like I can afford to be pickier. And there were silly reasons why I got married so many times, and
you can't afford to be pickier than Captain Mark Richards. That is definite, Joanne. You can afford to be pickier than somebody who's like spending life without parole. Yes, please be more picky.
Might as well, we might as well dive into that if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. It's like I grew up and there were many alcoholics in my lineage. So that kind of taught me how to be a codependent. When you see your mom, and I'm not blaming my mom, but when you see that pattern, you become a codependent. So that's part of it. But I was a Mormon for 30 years, at least 30 years. Yeah, I think that's about right. And, you get this little image, and I have nothing against the church. I left it after 30 years, but you get this picture of marriage as, the little house, the little happy family, forever happy family. And you're going to raise 1 million kids, and you're going to be all spiritual and do all your church stuff. And everybody's going to be wonderful. And everybody's going to want to parent the same way. And everybody's got the same idea of, how a marriage should work and how couples should work together. And, that just wasn't how it was for me. And then you get it's like, well, no sex before marriage. And so when your hormones are raging.
Yeah, I can relate to the no sex before marriage. I think, Joanne's a little bit older than me, but, in my generation too, there was this thing, well, no, you wait till you're married because it was a sin, right? So, yeah.
In your, teens, yes, but early 20s and going on. And especially if you've been married already once or twice or whatever, it's like, okay. And you're not, it's like, so you want to have that courtship short or you do have the courtship short, but it's just like, I didn't listen to the alarm bells.
And that's the part that I don't get. I guess like maybe if she she stayed with those religious vows or the religious belief that you don't have sex outside of the marriage, even though she lost her virginity. Like, for me, like once I got past my virginity, like it was on, you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't have to be married. And so I never felt that in order for me to have sex with somebody, I had to be on my way to being married to them. And so it sounds like to me that she held out, like she had somebody court her and doesn't give up the pootie until like maybe they got married. That's how it sounds to me a little bit. if that's the case, I commend her for that, because I would never be able to achieve that.
And there were plenty going off, and it's crazy. And some of my marriages, my parents or my mom is just like, I don't really think you should marry that guy. Oh, what do you know? And it's like, I don't really, it's okay. I feel good about it. It'll be okay. I prayed about it. It's fine. And my parents weren't members of the church or anything. So, I just assumed, and by marriage number 2, I had married somebody who was not a member of the church, and he committed suicide. So that was bad enough. But now I have this toddler who needs a dad. And, I just thought, well, I need to get married again so she could have a dad. And I kept trying to find a good dad. And
okay, that part I find interesting, because the wanting to like get married so she can have a dad. My mom got divorced when I was 9 and my brother was 2, and then she remarried when I was 14. But I don't think my mom, she wasn't thinking like that. She was she's a school teacher, and she was raising us on her own. And it was hard on her. She dated. I mean, I remember my mom dating, and I was really awful to her dates, just really bad. And what I would do is if they had a weird laugh or a mannerism, I would imitate them right in the room, right in front of them. So, and then my mom knew I was doing it, and I could see where she was trying not to laugh, because she knew I was right. She wasn't. They were not going to happen, right? It was like every time something like that happened, I go, Mom, no, not the guy with the long fingernails. You're like, what is he doing? It's like, what is he doing with that fingernail? It's like, no, I remember this one guy, he came up to the door, like I was, I'm going to distract you for a minute, but I was like, my friend, no, I was being babysat, but my babysitter was only like a couple years older than me, and I was like 11 at this point. And this weird looking man with this weird shaped head, and I was in a double wide trailer, so you know how that little plexiglass thing that comes in 70s, I remember like peeking through it, and maybe that made him look even worse. And I went, oh my God, there's this like weird guy on the porch. I opened it, and he's like, is Joyce there? And I'm like, what? I was like, you're asking for my mom? And then and so, yeah. And then he came over for dinner after that. Anyway, sorry.
And I just kept picking the wrong people. And, it's like the first marriage, the first red flag was we were having our wedding reception and cutting the cake, and the top layer fell off. It's like, oh God, there's a sign. And then we go camping, and his parents, truck camper thing for our honeymoon. And he's really allergic to dust and dirt and all this stuff. So like day 2 of our honeymoon, he's having a bad allergy. So the honeymoon gets cut short. It's like, okay, is this what life's going to be like?
Okay, so here's where I'm having a problem right now a little bit. It's like, it seems like, okay, I need to get married because my daughter needs a father, but I'm not sure I really like the guy that I'm married. And, the cake fell over and this and that. So it almost like feels like even as she made the choice, like it's almost like she might have gotten married for a need rather than looking at the man and saying, this is really a good mate for me. I love this person. I want to spend the rest of my life with them. And, when you have that about somebody, it doesn't matter if the cake fell over or that you slept in a truck or you did whatever, because you love them. Anyway.
And then it was like, then he thought it was funny to like pinch my arms and do weird little mean things. And it was funny. I was like, yeah, that doesn't really sit well with me. And then he finally admitted, we just, and here were these 20-year-old Mormons. And
yeah, I'm getting the feeling she doesn't even like him.
Life's supposed to be wonderful. And I'm going, I don't think you're supposed to be pinching my arms, and I don't think you're supposed to be throwing water or milk on me because you're mad at me. And yes, it wasn't serious physical abuse, but it was, it's like it just wasn't going well. And then finally, as we're really splitting up, and it's like, well, he goes, I never really loved you. It's like, what? And I was thin for 20. I was thin, and he was a photography major and used to seeing all these thin models. And it's like, I'm never going to be a size 2, dude, but I was not, at 120, I wasn't.
There's very few women that will ever be a size 2. Nah.
Fat, but I was never thin enough. And I was just.
And we are never thin enough in a lot of relationships. Yes. Yeah.
The whole theme through all these marriages, I was just never enough.
That's
and that
right.
really sucks.
I see. That's the part that I really identify with. I was never enough. Yeah.
And I never really loved you. My family thought, it was time I got married. So I picked you because you were a home ec major. And yeah, great. I could bake a good pie. And it's like.
So it seems like both people kind of just picked each other. It's like, I picked you because of blank. I picked you for this. It's like, I chose you because I thought you would fit in my life for me right now. You're here to serve me and what I need in my life and my vision of what I want in life. It's still about me.
Excuse me?
There's a little bit more to marriage than that.
Yeah. And I was planning to go, continue college as well. And I was like, well, no, I'm the one that's almost done with my degree, and you need to stay home and work so that we have enough money to live on. It's like, okay. So I dropped out of college, and, I was earning the money, and we split up, and I moved back east where my family was. And it's like,
see, that's the part that I'm kind of different from her, because I would go, screw it, dude, I'm going to college, Yeah, no, I'm getting an education. I don't know about you. No, I'm going to be a comedian. No, I'm not going to sit here and work as a waitress so that you can get up on stage. See what I'm saying?
Oh, well, I think we should try again. I go, well, then you come to Connecticut and talk to me. Oh, no, I can't do that. It's like, well, I'm not flying back to Utah to talk to you. So we got divorced. And then a few years later, he marries, well, I don't know how soon, but he married somebody else. And a few years later, she was, she wrote me, and it's like, well, yeah, we're so happy. And he never wanted kids with, I thought, okay, we need to start a family right now, So that just wasn't going to happen. And then his new little wife, oh yeah, we have a kid or two. I don't know how many. They started having kids right away. I think he had to drop out of school, or didn't finish his degree anyway, went back to the career that he didn't want. But she was thin, and she was tiny, and she was petite. And it's like, great, you've got your picture perfect wife. And so, it's just, And husband number 2, we were met and married within a month. Now that I wouldn't advise that to anybody.
That's your first mistake.
Yes, but I also got pregnant in there. So it's a good thing we got married anyway, because I didn't know I was pregnant. So, okay, number 1, I broke the church rules. And number 2, we're getting married too fast. But my family liked him, actually, and he wasn't a member. But it turns out he was an alcoholic, and he was addicted to drugs from an accident he'd had during his time in the Navy. But nobody told me that. And his family just thought, well, if he marries.
Oh, by the way, I want to also say that tonight I'm going to open up a panel to discuss this afterwards. So just hang tight there on that one.
He's a nice Mormon girl. He'll just straighten out. Like, okay, no, you cannot cure somebody of their addictions just because you're a nice Mormon girl. So pretty soon it became obvious that I was pregnant, and that was fine. We were thrilled. We were all, that was fine. I wanted a kid. He wanted a kid. But again, he's having me, I'm trying to be this good Mormon. Well, okay, I really don't want you paying tithing. That takes money out of our budget. Do you really have to go to church? I'd rather us do something on the weekend. Would you please stop? Well, not even please. On your way home from work, would you stop at the liquor store and buy me this? It's like, I've never been in a liquor store in my life, dude, let alone buy anything alcoholic. But I did it because I was a codependent. And I was enabling his alcoholism because I wanted this marriage to work. Then I remember, we split up when I was 7 months old because he kicked me out. And by then he was also suicidal. But before that, I remember just sitting there on his lap and we're cuddling and he's blowing pot smoke in my mouth, thinking that was funny. It's like, dude, I'm pregnant. I should not be I'm not going to inhale it, but I shouldn't even be having it around me.
Actually, I can understand like where, I'm not sure if cannabis is actually bad for a fetus. That's really a big debate. There's some women that used it to help them through their pregnancy, and nothing happened. I mean, the baby is fine. It's an unfounded study actually. Nobody ever really gets a contact high. I mean, maybe people think it is, but you just can't get. It just doesn't happen that way. That's a fallacy. When she says he blew marijuana smoke in my mouth, see, I like that. I'm like, I would go. That doesn't bother me at all, actually.
And it's like, oh my God, what have I done to my kid? And then, I made the mistake once of
here's the thing, and I want to point this out. Here's a husband number 2, and she each time she gets to each husband, she gives a list of the annoying things that they do and the reasons why. Like, and to me, I have to admit, they sound kind of shallow to me. That's just my feeling about it, right? I could be wrong, right? Everybody has their perception, but when I hear it and feel it, it feels like, to me, the reasons that she goes through these little tiny annoyances, like, you should really feel those things. You should figure out whether or not you can deal with somebody's idiosyncrasies before you tie the knot, is my feeling. That's why I feel like it's better to maybe live with somebody, have a long courtship, because like once like that initial thing gets over with, right? Or kind of, you're starting to live life. You're not, that euphoria doesn't last forever. So when that starts to wear off, when that drug starts to come down, right? Then you see everything and you see their flaws, you see the little tick that they do, you see things that like will drive you crazy. But when you love somebody, you're able to see past those things. You love them so much that the things that really annoy you about them really don't matter. And sometimes you even start to love those things. Or when they're not around, you miss the things that you thought you didn't like.
Getting mad at him and saying, I hope your drug use hasn't damaged the fetus. And it didn't. But, he didn't.
Yeah, of course not.
He didn't like that at all.
I don't blame him.
He kicked me out when I was 7 months pregnant. Again, I went back to live with my parents. And
okay, so he kicked me out when I was 7 months pregnant. Okay, but what did you do something to warrant that? Is there any responsibility of why he would want to kick you out? I know it's awful to kick out a pregnant woman, but could a pregnant woman be so awful that you maybe want to kick them out? We're not perfect people, so I just find that to be a one-sided statement.
I was trying to move on because and we weren't getting, it's like that marriage would have ended in divorce like the first one. And then he committed suicide, which was horrible. He saw his daughter twice. She was.
Okay, so he kicked her out. Wait, and then do you want to go back a second? We can go back 15 seconds. Let's go back a little bit more.
Dude, I'm pregnant. I should not be I'm not going to inhale it, but I shouldn't even be having it around me. And it's like, oh my God, what have I done to my kid? And then, I made the mistake once of really getting mad at him and saying, I hope your drug use hasn't damaged the fetus. And it didn't. But, he didn't like that at all. He kicked me out when I was 7 months pregnant. Again, I went back to live with my parents. And I was trying to move on because and we weren't getting, it's like that marriage would have ended in divorce like the first one. And then he committed suicide, which was horrible. He saw his daughter twice. She was 5 weeks old when.
So he committed suicide. She was already kicked out. and pregnant in a parent's house, and then they didn't reconcile, and then he committed suicide. Might have been a blessing that he kicked her out. Obviously, there was something going on with him that he was struggling with something inside.
He died. He didn't know she had been born. Like, somebody had to go to his apartment and tell him she had been born, but he got to see her twice, and then he committed suicide.
Oh, wow. So he wasn't allowed to participate, or maybe did he want to know that? Did he want to be there when she was going to be born?
So she never knew her father. Luckily, she grew up knowing, his siblings, so her aunts and her grandparents and her cousins and stuff. So she always remained, we've always remained close to that side of the family, and that's been wonderful. But yeah, that wasn't good. The next guy was another Mormon, and again, so my daughter was still.
So they're Mormon men, which is, because I guess like she's Mormon or has been Mormon. And so when you're Mormon, can you only marry other Mormons? I'm just curious.
He was like a toddler when he and I met. And, he had a good position in the church and acted like this really great Mormon guy. And I was starting to date, and I wondered, why isn't anybody asking me out but this guy? Because a few people had. And then later I find out, I was telling them that you're mine and they should leave. Don't date you. Don't even ask you out. It's like, are you kidding me? You got to give me a choice here. And we got married. We eloped to Las Vegas because, again, the hormones are raging. So you can't.
It just kind of feels like, why isn't anybody else dating me? Oh, you got to give me a choice. It's like, it was almost like, I don't know. I get this idea that they were all hanging out in some, congregation thing where I guess maybe it's church where you're able to, like, that's also like a date, like, speed dating or something, I don't know. It's weird.
Can't wait for a long courtship. We eloped to Las Vegas, and on the way we had a car accident. This guy in front of us was like carrying lumber in his pickup, and the piece of lumber flew out into the windshield. And it's like, okay. And we dropped the baby off at my mom's house and went to Las Vegas to get married. I'm thinking, what an idiot. Why did I do that? And it's like, and your audience.
Okay, so again, guy number 2 on the way to get married. It's a bad experience. Piece of lumber goes out. Things are going wrong. These are omens, I guess, to her. Like, it's just kind of shallow for me a little bit.
Audience is probably going, oh my gosh, this woman. And again, and it turned out this guy, he was larger, and he had such an inferiority complex, and through whatever his upbringing was, but he turned out to be,
like, she says absolutely nothing positive about any of these men. Like when she describes them, it's like people, it's like sometimes things don't work out, but there's something dynamic about somebody, what I mean? It's like, for example, I one thing that I think is really good really liked about Stephen D. Kelly was that he was interesting. He's just an interesting person, and he's smart. Like, as crazy as he is, he's a very intelligent person and funny. Sometimes there were times where I would talk to him on Skype, and he would be telling me something or a story, or the way he described it, and it would just make me laugh so much. He would make breakfast for me when I came over, and he would put chorizos in it. And there were things that he did. He would fix the brakes on my car because you just put the pads on them so that I could get by. Like, people aren't just black and white, and they did a bunch of annoying things, and that's the reason why you can't be with them anymore.
He's so abusive. He had this, I'm the, and again, in the Mormon church, the man is the head of the household, but you're supposed to be equal partners. You're supposed to be helpmates. But the man is the head. So, what the man says goes. And it's like, and he took that literally. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'm a Leo. I'm really independent. And, this isn't, it's like, this is not flying so well with me. Not that I don't want my husband to feel like he's doing his duty or anything, but he thought nothing of, well, your daughter's got like big heavy cloth diapers on, so I'm just going to swat her. okay, you're not her dad yet. You're not. Later, he adopted her, but he was starting to be very physically abusive, and he only hit me a couple times. I remember we lived in California, Southern California.
So this is not good. All right. The swatting of the diaper and, the wanting to parent her child without his way and then hitting of her, that's just not acceptable.
California, in a crappy neighborhood, couple crappy neighborhoods. And then we decided, we're going to move to Ohio where some of his family lives, and, job opportunities would be better there, blah, blah, blah. For some reason, there was my mom was going to have this birthday party for my grandma. And I think it conflicted with his work schedule. And I think he just assumed they planned it that way so he couldn't go. So
it just goes on and on and on. It's like we have to go through each single relationship through the entire hour about everything that didn't work out. It's like, I think you could have condensed it. You could, I was married 7 times, blah, 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 almost like Elizabeth Taylor. And you could have just, maybe drawn it together about the struggles that you had in finding the right man. And then I married a guy in prison. It's almost like a comedy routine, right? And then I decided to fall in love with a guy who, said, that his life without parole, and then whatever. It's just like, it's like so nitpicky about every single person. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's not ever like, well, maybe I've got something wrong with me. I have to say to myself, I got something wrong. I have something, I'm not getting it right. So what am I doing wrong? Or what can I improve on? Or how can I heal myself in this situation? So in the future, I'm going to have something healthy. I'm going to have a healthy relationship with somebody.
All of a sudden, my daughter and I are banned from going to see my family at all. You're really kidding me, right? And my mom's going, are you going to take that? And I'm going, I want him to be the head of the house. And, everybody's mad. And he takes off for Ohio to live there. So, I didn't go to the party, but I did start seeing my family before I left because I was to follow later with her after we packed up and put our mobile home on the market and all that stuff. And so then I get to Ohio and he's all mad because, I went and saw my mom. It's like, well, I'm not going to not say goodbye to my parents. Before he left for Ohio, we had an argument and he broke every window in our mobile home. It's like, are you crazy? And I went to the church leader and I said, this guy's abusive. Well, has he hit you? Do you think he's going to hit you? I go, I don't think so. Right now he's just taking it out on this stuff. Well, then, I guess I don't need to do anything. It's like, you don't think you ought to talk to him? Anyway, we moved, and that's where the physical abuse towards my daughter and me started. And I remember going out doing church service one day with one of the other women, and I left her alone with him, and she was.
See, I think we could have just next time. I'm just telling Joanne, when you do this again, and you tell me, you go through, because you want to help women, right? I mean this in a positive way. If you want to say a story, you want to explain how something happened. And next time, I'm just in the delivery, I would condense it and then get to this part. Because this is where we need to learn something from. That's just my advice.
2 or 3. She was still a toddler, preschooler, toddler. And, I was gone for hours and I came back and I'm walking in the house and she's on the couch laying down with her little pink quilted robe. And she's got this big bruise on her face. And there's nothing more crushing for a mother to come home and find out that their kid's got a huge bruise on their face and knowing that she didn't just fall down and, randomly hit herself. And she pissed him off. I don't even know what she did. It didn't even matter, but he hit her. And this guy's huge and he hit her. And again, did I do anything? Did I call the police? No. Did I walk out on him? No. Did I call the church? No. It's one of those things where you hear this all the time. It's like, why don't you leave him? Why did you let it go on? Why didn't you call the police? It's like, I don't know. I just didn't. And that for
Sometimes you don't call the police because you don't think, like, you're kind of in shock, and it's like you're not sure, like, for some reason you're not sure if, like, the police is necessary, right? Until somebody tells you, you better call the police, or somebody tells you, you should probably do this. I remember, like, when I called the abusive network hotline, and I said, my husband threw me down on the bed and held a knife at my neck and threatened to kill me. Is that dangerous? Like, I was that, like, out of it, or like he had choked me and bit me on the nose, and these incidents, like, had happened, and I'd go, oh, like, did that just happen? Like, it's just this, and you don't know what to do, right? So I can understand not calling the police.
Ever, my daughter and I are still healing over those kind of things, and we've worked through a lot of that, and we are doing much better. There was a time shortly after that where he hit me up the side of my head, and again, that really hurt.
That's awful. That's just awful.
Hurt. And I ended up going to the doctor, and he's going, your husband, like, you hit you, on the head, right? I go, yeah, but I, almost broke his thumb when he did that, because I, grabbed his hand and, like, pushed his thumb back as hard as I could. We were together like three years, and I did, I finally said, I've had enough. He worked for an ambulance company, so he'd be gone like 2 days
I made it only for 4 years
at a time. And I called my mom and I said, I need money to fly home. Okay. And in his 2-day time period, I had stuff packed. I had a friend who we were going to take it to the trucking place. And then there was this blizzard. He came home between blizzards. And I said, you're driving us to the airport. We're leaving. Bye. And he did.
He actually drove you?
Yeah, he drove us to the airport, because it was, we probably lived, I don't know, at least an hour or more from the Cleveland airport. But I made him drive us to the airport, and he did. Because he had adopted her, I had to, it took us a couple of years to get a divorce, but I had to allow visitation, even though she only saw him a few times and she didn't really want to see him. And, we fought over child support. And if people think they have to pay a lot of child support, I only got $100 a month out of him. And I usually only got.
Interesting that it's not his biological daughter, and then he adopted her, and then he still wanted to see her. I don't know.
Got it when he'd get a tax return or tax refund or this or that. So it was hard, and that was really hard. A few years later, then I met the next guy, and again, he was a really nice guy. We were good at the dancing and having fun, but then as soon as we got married, he thought he needed to be all macho, and it's like, okay, well, you don't have a real job, because I'm a bookkeeper. So that's all brain stuff and thinking. And he finally got a job, and he was like, I don't know, delivering ice cream and milk and, whatever, physical work. It's like, oh, you don't have a real job. Like, excuse me?
Here we go with it again. Like, it's still, like, here's where it feels shallow to me. Oh, this happened in my job. And here, this part, I'm just like, what? So, okay.
I'm bringing in more money.
Small stuff.
Than you are. Just because I'm not toting a crate of ice cream. It's like, what's wrong with my job? And then he started to get abusive too. And it's like one time,
okay,
my daughter's 7.
All right, here it goes. This would matter. This part. Anybody abusive has to go.
They never got along. And she kicked him with her little 7-year-old feet. He had cowboy boots on and kicked her back in her shins. It's like, dude, you just like.
So her daughter really suffered. I feel bad for her daughter.
Broke the skin. She's got this bump and a bruise, and it's like, ah. And I remember one time I was just trying to be affectionate and, like, pinched him, or
that would have been, I think for me, I would have been over it. I'm like, what, you kicked my daughter with your cowboy boots? Okay, we're out of here.
Trying to be affectionate, and he just got all mad at me and got a little physical back, and like, okay, this isn't working. And that marriage only lasted a year. Then the next guy, we got along fine as long as.
That's good that it was only a year, but see, this is the part that makes me, wow. So she's going one to the next, and it's really like there's no. I wish that. I mean, it's. I feel bad. I don't feel bad. I do feel bad that. I mean, I just feel like she should have stopped, taken a moment. It was almost like an addiction or something, or like I gotta have a man. I gotta be in this relationship. I cannot be alone. Somebody has to be with me. And I think as women, we can't feel like that. It's really, it takes a little, it's hard to go, yeah, fuck it. I'm fine with my cat. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go read a book now. I'm going to go work on a project. I don't really need you because like I'm better right now. I'm better without Stephen D. Kelly. Like I'm better right now without being in a relationship. I feel strong right now in many ways. So I think I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good in college. I got a job I like. I like doing this. This is going well. I'm feeling good, and I am by myself, and I am the age that I am.
And I've said this before. It's like I've never been a size 2. I'm never going to be a size 2, but I'm not. Anyway, I am what I am. But I was kind of thin, but I've always tended to like, if you're unhappy, you probably eat. I do. And it's like when you're not unhappy, you tend to keep a decent weight. And when I started gaining weight, it's like he would withhold affection. It's like I finally got, it's like, well, okay, that's like, and again, the prevailing theme is, well, you're not enough. And, I don't like you now that you've put on some weight. It's like, well, I'm feeding all your kids. And
I knew a guy that actually, like, he left his girlfriend. She was beautiful. And I said, why'd you guys breathe? And he was always talking to her. And he seemed like I think he probably went back to her. But I go, why did you leave her? And he goes, because she got fat. And I was like, wow.
I'm working and I'm, taking in my stepkids and, and I'm going along with all your crap and you're not great employment.
Actually, that comment made me not be with him anymore. I could not get over the thing about her. Like he didn't want to be with her because she got fat. Because I thought, well, what if I get fat? Like what if I had an accident or something? And,
and things like that. And so finally I just said, yeah, we're done. And my daughter, we moved from a decent part of town to like right downtown, which was like the train tracks were like literally behind our apartment. And my daughter was so embarrassed that we lived there. She would never, I think she let one friend come see it.
No, now I gotta say right now, I got a problem with this part. Like she's putting down the house as if it's his fault and the train track. And even my daughter was embarrassed to bring a friend over. It's really materialistic, I feel. That's my feeling about it. It's like, how do you know? Like when I was growing up, I lived in a trailer. We lived in a mobile home park. When I didn't even know what that, we were like the 11th trailer in the mobile home park, and my mom said it was nouveau. I thought it was like nouveau living, like it was kind of cool. We had like rocks and everything, and there was a Buddha on the front of my bedroom. It was like little palm tree plants growing. There was a swimming pool that we all hung out at and swim at, and a jacuzzi, and there was a rec hall. And I was a tween. I wasn't yet. I was 9, but I went through my tween and my teenage years before we moved, and had my first kiss there. And man, I'm still friends with some of those people on Facebook, and I never once thought that I was like living in some place that was bad or that even I should be ashamed of. And the thing about like, I didn't think about the places I've lived now is as an adult, it's like we should never judge each other for what our home is, because some people don't even have one.
It's like, otherwise she'd have everybody drop her off because our circumstances had changed so dramatically. And, I all of a sudden was really poor, and I'd run up all this debt trying to keep the whole household together. And again, and the other thing, this kind of
almost like a business relationship to me that she has with some of these men.
the abuse I had with him was financial, because I was putting in money and he was
Financial abuse. I've never heard that terminology. Financial abuse. Wow.
wasn't making a lot. But then he talked me into investing some money that I shouldn't have into something that bust. And so then all of a sudden I owe this person whose money I invested like 15 grand, which I had to pay back, which I did. And then, so now I'm accumulating debt and having to do bankruptcy because I've taken on all this debt because of this dirt bag. And finally, when
Interesting. She called him a dirt bag.
he was married to somebody else later.
But she never, okay, well, you'll see. I don't think she calls Captain Mark Ridgers a dirt bag. But this guy with the shitty house and the financial issue is a dirt bag.
And going to sell their house. I said, well, here's an actual lien on your house. When you sell it, I get that 15 grand back.
I get the feeling that money really is important to Joanne. Like this, it almost feels like this is the worst. Like this almost bothers her the most out of everything in some ways, you know?
And I got it, but it's not the worst thing in the world to have to go through bankruptcy, but it's really embarrassing. And then to have him show up at bankruptcy.
Sure, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have your wages garnished. It's embarrassing not to be able to pay rent. Yeah, it's all of the above. Absolutely. But you know what? A lot of people experience what she's experienced. So she's not alone. This is not a unique experience for a lot of people.
Bankruptcy court with the new wife and their 2 or 3 kids that they just started having one after another. And it's like,
I mean, like when you get married, let's say like through thick and through thin, through sickness and through health, right? That's like your vows, like through the hard times and the good times, because that's how life is.
it's like, and because I claimed, it's like, I'm having to file bankruptcy because of this guy. So he shows up with the wife and babies.
I'm having to file bankruptcy because this guy, well, he had to file bankruptcy too, right?
All in tow. And it's like, oh, this is great. This is really great. To this day, we don't talk about it, but I have explained to his daughters, who I am now back in touch with, well, here's what happened. Your dad made it sound like I was the bad guy, and this is what happened.
Okay.
He made it sound like I had this bogus claim that he owed me all this money. It's like, no, that really happened. So, they get it now.
So he did. Oh, wow. Did you hear that? This bogus claims that he owed her a lot of money. Oh, but yeah, it really did happen. Like I set the record straight that he really did owe me the money. Okay. But you were married, right? I mean, isn't like when you're married, like it comes together. There's a me pile and a he pile and a she pile of money. No, you're married. It's your nest egg, right?
Now, okay. Any questions before I keep going?
No.
Okay. It's interesting because one of the things my daughter, again, we've had to do a lot of healing, and thankfully I'm living now 6 blocks away from her. So we've had 3 years to really work on healing things, which has been a blessing. And probably not everybody gets that opportunity, but I'm really grateful that we've been able to work on a lot of our stuff.
Face it, dating sucked in your 20s, gets worse in your 30s, and your 40s.
Okay, single Mormon adult, they have these dances. And I knew him through church, but then we started showing up at the same dances. It's like, oh, this guy dances really well. Oh, now we started going out. And we had fun. It's like, so. And
I should marry him.
I know I should. Well, and here's the thing. My daughter was going to go off to Japan as a foreign exchange student. So God forbid I live alone for a while, I should have lived alone. I would have been just fine. And so we get engaged, and she boycotted the marriage. She would not come to the wedding. Bless her heart. She was probably right. I should have boycotted the marriage. I'm sorry. I shouldn't make so light of this. I realized, and I have written a book, but I could also do a comedy routine. And he just got,
did.
he was just boring. Life was boring. And she came back from Japan. And so then he and I separated for a while, and then we got back together. But it's like, and then I started going to therapy, and he goes, well, this is none of my fault. I'm not going to go to therapy. I've got nothing to say. It's like, okay, you won't go to therapy so we can work on this together? No, it's all your fault. It's like, okay, see ya. And so there wasn't a lot of abuse there, but there wasn't a lot of let's work together kind of stuff. Okay, and then I met the guy I just got divorced from, and we had been together like 25 years. We courted for 5 years. He was in prison. I knew that at the time. My roommate at the time came home and said, oh, I met this really smart from. And we had been together like 25 years. We courted for
a little bit more.
And so there wasn't a lot of abuse there, but there wasn't a lot of let's work together kind of stuff. Okay. And then I met the guy I just got divorced from, and we had been together like 25 years. We courted for 5 years. He was in prison.
25 years. They've been together for 25 years. Where did that come in? Like, okay, so did she divorce? Because I think Joanne might be like 68 right now. So 25 years, 40s. So was she, like, this goes back to the 40s. So all the other 6 men were up until like 47 or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to, 25. I might even be early 40s. Okay.
I knew that at the time. My roommate at the time came home and said, oh, I met this really smart guy. He's really nice. He's visiting with his mom. I go, oh, smart. Okay, that could be a new kind of boyfriend. That'd be good. And we started writing, and that was fun. And then I started
with his mom, but he's in prison. That's the part that I don't understand. Like it gets convoluted there, because I'm like, 25 years. Did they know each other before he went to prison? Like it's like this little part area just seems, it's going too fast.
Started visiting him, and we courted like for 5 years. And I thought, oh, this guy's smart. He's got
5 years. Where did the 25-year come from? And his mom, and it's weird.
Interesting stories. It sounds like he's got some money, which I was not. I didn't
go back.
Good. And we started writing, and that was fun. And then I started visiting him, and we courted like for 5 years. And I thought, oh, this guy's smart. He's got all these interesting stories. It sounds like he's got some money, which I was not.
Sounds like he's got some money.
I didn't ever look at it like, oh, I've made it big now. He's got money. He made it sound.
I made it big now. He's got money. How much money? I wonder.
Like he had money.
He had money. Wait. I want to go back out here again. Wait, hold on. Go back.
And said, oh, I met this really smart guy. He's really nice. He's visiting with his mom. I go, oh, smart. Okay, that could be a new kind of boyfriend. That'd be good. And we started writing, and that was fun. And then I started visiting him, and we courted like for 5 years. And I thought, oh, this guy's smart. He's got all these interesting stories. It sounds like he's got some money, which I was not. I didn't ever look at it like, oh, I've made it big now. He's got money. He made it sound like he had money. We got married, and our divorce was just.
He had money. So we got married. So we were right in prison. He has money. Okay. I'm just wondering, did it ever did that little voice ever go off in Joanne's head where she went, yeah, but he's in prison. Yeah, but I'm marrying somebody convicted for life that had masterminded the murder of somebody, manipulated the minds of young people. I mean, even if like you wanted to buy the story that didn't happen and he was a UFO person or whatever, and I'm like, do you think that maybe like what if it was true? Like, but he had money, right? He had money. So, hey, had money.
Final in May, and we were together, married for over almost 21 years.
21
which was
years.
a huge
Okay, so
progress for
25
me.
years. It's 25 years. But where did the mom thing come in? And that we were meeting or whatever. The mom was me. I don't know. It's weird.
But
Was
little
he
did I
in
know,
prison the whole time? Or
he was already in prison.
See?
So I would go.
That's like you. Was he in prison the whole time? She's like, he was.
When he lived close enough, I would go every week to visit. When he lived like at the other end of the state, I would only go once a month. When he lived like several hours away, I would still go every week, but maybe just the one day. I wouldn't go stay down there.
She's like, this thing is, it's almost like visiting Hannibal Lecter, you know? I'm going to go see him and throw meat through the bars. Hey, Hannibal. Okay.
And I would just come home. I would just see him once a week. And so that was, and we'd write each other every day. And sometimes he would call, but usually we would just write each other every day. And he was a prolific writer, and I was doing some research for him while I was still working. I, have this building my
right. He's a prolific writer. God, does he have a published book? Like, how is he prolific? Like, what did he write about himself, about things? Like what? Like, because I like writers. I mean, is it his letter writing? Like what? Like, can we see the writing?
I had worked for different companies, and then I opened my bookkeeping private practice again and was really building that up. And it's very successful. But he turned out to be a narcissist.
No shit.
And I've been in therapy.
Surprised that a man that was able to mastermind the murder with manipulating, teenage men, right, 17-year-olds to murder someone on their behalf would be a narcissist. Imagine that person would be an empath or would be codependent even.
Therapy for 3 years now for that. So the next book is going to be about that, even though I need to change all the names.
Therapy for
private practice again, and was really building that up. And it's very successful. But he turned out to be a narcissist. And I've been in therapy for 3 years now for that. So the next book is going to be about that, even though I need to change.
3 years. So she's been in therapy for 2 years before she left him. I'm guessing 2 years prior, she was like, holy shit, I'm married to a narcissist that's been in prison for murder and without parole. And I got to go to therapy.
Change all the names. But
Joanne,
it's like, yes, I'm sorry.
He was in prison, my dear.
Right.
I know. That didn't bother me. What's your
go in
I know that didn't bother me. Well, he had money.
prison for nothing. So
Oh, well,
I ask, what did he go to prison for?
he was accused of, okay, sorry, I'm talking really fast. He was accused of masterminding a murder of a murder happened. He really had nothing to do with it. But the kids who did it, who were working for his,
Go back.
like,
Go back.
I know that didn't bother me. What's your
go in prison for nothing? So
I
ask, what did he go to prison for?
He was accused of, okay, sorry, I'm talking really fast. He was accused of masterminding a murder of a murder happened. He really had nothing to do with it. But the kids who did it.
Oh, he had nothing to do with it. Yeah, no, he didn't do the murder. He convinced somebody to do it. So yeah, he did have something to do with it. See, that's where people mess up. Oh, they did it, but I, basically brainwashed them almost to do it. I convinced them to do it.
Who were working for his reconstruction type company said he planned this murder for this guy that owed him money.
Yeah, it was a big cult too. And they were thinking that they were going to take over Marin County.
They were doing a job for him. And it was a pretty...
And there was some, I don't know, spiritual stuff thrown in there too, like, UFO shit.
Highly publicized murder in 1982. And I still, to this day...
Highly publicized murder. Not just like, this is not your average guy doing time in prison because he went into a rage and killed somebody. This is a high profile case.
regardless of everything else, believe that he did not do it because I've read through all this stuff. And
believe me, he did not do it because I read through all this stuff. What stuff? Was this stuff used in the court of law for his defense? His stuff, his books that he wrote, that's, like Stephen D. Kelly wrote a book about his life too, but trust me, I'm pretty sure it's whitewashed. It's his version, his ideal version of himself in his book.
I just don't believe he did it. He also worked for the.
I don't believe he did it. Oh, because he had a lot of money, right? Doesn't matter if you believe if he did it or not. If he had a real big cash cow, you can go live in a house in Marin County. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Because that's, to be honest with you, I'm not talking to Joanne, but to be honest, that's what people think. Like, no matter how you, get this down, you go, oh, I really loved him. I really love the guy in prison because I know, possibly one day he'll not be the killer that we think he is. He's redeemed himself, right? But he also has a lot of money, and I get to live in his house in Marin County. We, as a listener, as a viewer, we can't help but think that. That's where we go, there's a possibility she did it for the money. And I'm not sure by listening to this that I'm convinced that she didn't. I'm just being honest about my feeling about the way I'm perceiving this. I'm not saying that's what she is. I'm just saying that's how I see it and feel it.
For the military, which is true. I've got all that proof.
Go back.
Murder in 1982. And I still, to this day, regardless of everything else, believe that he did not do it because I've read through all this stuff and, I just don't believe he did it. He also worked for the military, which is true. I've got all that proof. And he was doing.
See, she's got proof. Then I'd like to see it. Maybe she's going to publish it in her next book. The proof of him going to the military. I think it's really easy, maybe even to find out if he did go to the military. And I'm hearing otherwise that he didn't go, that he wasn't in the military, and that his timeline of when he was in the military, he was still in high school. So his story is not plausible that he would have. Oh, but wait, he was in the secret space program, and even though he was 15 years old, he was still flying around in jet planes, around with UFOs. See, because that's his story. That's how he was in the military. But she's got proof. Really, I'd like to see that proof, because that's stolen valor. There's got to be a record. Right?
Doing a lot of top secret stuff for them. So we
secret stuff.
As strange as it sounds.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
Most of us know the stuff, and
we know
guy that owed him money, they were doing a job for him, and it was a pretty highly publicized murder in 1982. And I still, to this day, regardless of everything else, believe that he did not do it because I've read through all this stuff, and I just don't believe he did it. He also worked for the military, which is true. I've got all that proof. And he was doing a lot of top secret stuff for them. So we as strange as it sounds, most of us are convinced that he was doing something for the military that he can't talk about and they can't prove it. So, he's been stuck in prison for almost 40 years.
Uh-huh. No UFO, right? But it kind of matches sort of what Carrie Cassidy says. He did something where they can't really talk about it, and that's the reason why he's stuck in prison. He's stuck in prison because of a special thing that he did with the military, but she's not going to say that it's UFOs and he was been off planet when he was 15 years old or 16, I don't know, young age, working for the military while he was in high school and whatever. Uh-huh. Yeah. Somebody's knocking on my door. Who is it? Somebody's asking for Gabriel. Hold on. That's okay. I'm just a little jumpy right now about things. Some weird's happening. It's okay, baby. Yeah, honey. Yeah. Come on. It's okay. It's scary. It's okay. We're okay. Okay. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah, big boy. It's a big boy. It's a big boy. Oh, big boy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sorry. There's something happening. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I feel like somebody pounded on my door. And then these guys are saying, no, it was right here, it was right here. And they're yelling somebody's name, Gabriel or something. That was really weird. And I'm getting threats. I'm getting threats from people that they're going to come in my life and rip my hair off. I mean, they think it's a wig, and they're going to rip it off and live stream it. And I'm having to contact the police because he's meowing right at the door. Why are you doing that, honey? I'm going to play a little classical music just to kind of change the energy. Hold on. Yeah, honey, it's okay. It's okay, baby. Take a little breather. I'm going to come right back. I'm going to get some more water. Just take a break. I've had a lot of threats made to me recently. So I'm a little I'm easily triggered right now, and I'm a little jumpy. Okay. All right. This is when you want to have a man. Okay.
That aside, he's a very selfish person, and I shouldn't laugh. And I was living in his family's house and paying for everything.
I was living in his family's house and paying for everything. Once again, she's paying for everything, just like the other stories before. So she's always paying for everything, thinking that she was going to be taken care of in some respect, health insurance, I don't know. What's the health insurance? Dad for my, someone for my dad. I mean, dad for my daughter, this and that. There's always, and then, he owed me money. He still owed me money. It's a running theme here.
For 20 years. And it's like, okay, I'm going along. It's like, and I would tell him all this is like, okay, another tree fell down. A sewer thing happened. I was in full communication about everything. As long as I was visiting him and taking care of his needs, everything was fine. And then along came, before COVID happened, I got to thinking, I want to retire in a few years. And if we don't figure out a way for him to help start paying for some of this stuff, I'm not going to be able to retire because I hardly have any money saved for retirement. Because I keep paying for the house and I keep paying for this and this and this.
But why is she paying for all this stuff if he had money? Like, I mean, if you are going to marry somebody for their money, make sure you look at their bank. Like, verify that they have the funds before you make the arrangement.
Was running around speaking on his behalf for these military things. And
I was running around and speaking on his behalf for these military things that involved Carrie Cassidy. And I got to go to these great places. She's going to say London and this and that, blah, 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 blah. And and I was doing this whole thing about Captain, but the way she says it, I had to do this. I had to do that.
Running up some debt to do that because you don't get paid to speak much at a conference. And I had published a couple of his books that actually, his mom helped pay for that stuff. But that was back before print on demand. So you publish books in hard copy and it costs a lot of money. And now they're sitting in storage because you don't sell them all. And it's like, can we dump these? No, I'm sure they'll still sell. It's like, oh. But before COVID, I kept thinking, I'm looking around and going, okay, Joanne, you're in your 60s and your needs are not getting met on many levels and many, many levels. And I had said before COVID hit, I'm getting older and I want to retire.
Okay. My needs are not my needs. My needs are not getting met on many levels. Well, number one, you married somebody who's in prison without parole, prison for life without parole.
By the time I'm 70, and I still had a few years to go. And it's like, so we need to come up with a plan so that we can either downsize the house. Cause you got to walk up 3 flights of stairs to get into the house. It's, it's not a good house for old people. And, I want you to come home if you're ever going to come home. But it's like, this house is really hard to live in and it's fallen apart and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, we need to come up with a plan. Okay. And so time went on and I let him start working on a plan. And I do a lot of energy work and people might consider what I do woo-woo stuff. But anyway,
energy work.
I was taking a class.
Energy work and people consider what I do woo-woo stuff. Okay. Yeah. Even Mark Richter stuff is like real woo-woo for people.
Class on psychic development. And one of the things at the end was like, cut an energetic cord with stuff that doesn't work for you anymore. Like, okay, I need to cut off the cord that, it's like the relationship needs to change from what it is. So What is this? This is 2000.
I mean, it's good that she's outgrowing her relationship to a guy who's, in prison for masterminding a murder and without, for life without parole, and that is running a UFO scam, pretending to be in a secret space program for the military. Yeah, it is good to make a plan to get out of that, to cut the cords.
2020. So, at least 3 years ago, I was already thinking things really need to change. And I'd start to bring up stuff to him. And then I decided to move to Oregon, away from California and away from the house. And it's and he finally got my letter saying I was going to do that. And he blew up. It's okay. And he started to put all these things in motion. It's okay, well, you need to get all your stuff out of the house. And so the meanness started coming up, and I'd only seen him mean a couple times. And it's and he's quiet when he's mean. And it's you don't want to be on the other end of that. Because for a narcissist, it's all about doing stuff for them, and it's their agenda. And you have to be constantly taking care of them. And they'll make you think like they love you and that you're being taken care of. And I'm going to cry, but I'm sorry. It's really not that way. And, so I go, you didn't even talk. Wasn't planning on divorce. I just needed to get out of that house before another tree fell. And before I had to, it's the house is just depressing me. I can't do it. And I moved to Portland, but he was so angry and so convinced. It's don't go into commando mode. Talk to me first. He was not good.
But let's talk about the house for a moment. Okay, so the house apparently, I think it might have been old and another tree fell down. But it's in Marin County, and to my understanding, it is one of the most valuable pieces. It's a very valuable piece of real estate. From the land alone is worth a lot of money, and so yeah, you could sell that house for a lot of money. You can sell the whole land plot for a lot of, the whole area for a lot of money. You could get rid of that house and put up a whole nother house. And no matter what you did on that property, it would have been a win-win. And you got to think about this too. She's living rent-free. I mean, even though she has to pay this and that, but see, I'm wondering where did his money come from? How is his money not there to provide with that? That's the part I don't understand. Where did he must have lied. He didn't have the money, or because what I'm hearing is well, he didn't sell the house for me. Even though he was never going to get out of prison, he still wasn't going to sell it for me. But when you get farther on, you're going to realize that there's a trust, and he owns half of it and somebody else owns half of it. And so I'm thinking there's that situation. Well, if you do sell the house and you do sell the land, half of that is going to go to somebody that's not even part of this marriage. And would they have been willing to sell that property? I'm just curious about that. I mean, what would the other party's part have been in the overall decision to sell the property?
About talking about hard stuff, and narcissists aren't. And they just aren't. And so then, over the course of the next 3 years, it's okay, we'd start to talk about a few things. Okay, we're okay. I really was not planning on divorce. And there was no visiting for that first year of COVID. So why live there when I can't even see you, when I can go be near my daughter, and quarantine in a bubble where I can see a few people and not nobody. Because I had to start doing all my work at home and all that. And then visiting started slowly opening up, and I would go see him occasionally. And then the normal visiting started opening up a lot. It's well, I thought you'd move back after that opened up. I go, why? It's the house is falling apart, and I still don't have a plan on how you're going to fix it up or start paying for it. And
why don't you sell it?
Well, that would be the smart thing to do. And I kept saying we should probably sell it, but it's his family home, and it's his only tie to the community if he ever gets paroled. And it's his.
He's not getting paroled. I don't see him getting paroled, because he's going to have to admit, in order to go up to be allowed out when you've been convicted of something, you have to admit to the crime that you are serving time for, and you have to show that you have some sort of redemption. And Captain Mark Richards, he calls himself captain when he's not a captain, isn't going to do that if he's telling everybody that the reason why he's in there is because he was, he's in a special UFO force, and he's been put in there for that reason. And you have a wife that's going around and selling books and this and that on your behalf, doing speaking engagements with Carrie Cassidy. Like, that is not a person who's repented for what he's doing. That's somebody who found a way to make his life seem glamorous and wonderful and a hero, when in fact he really isn't.
Legacy, and it's his.
Okay. When is he supposed to be released?
Well, there's the good question. He has life without parole. So unless things dramatically change, who knows?
What the fuck?
Right? Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I can only be.
Oh my God. I mean,
he as blunt as I can be, but what the fuck were you thinking?
I don't know.
Right. That's the question that most people are going to ask.
I thought he'd come home, and I thought
he'd come home. Really? Let's break this down. Okay.
Because, this is going to be so great when I come home, and we'll go out, here's what I'd like to do for our.
I thought he had money that I could cash in on, maybe, because that's the other option. Because, like, so far, it seems like Joanne makes an arrangement that benefits her. That's the reason why she gets married. I'm not really sure if, like, it doesn't sound to me like I really loved him. I don't hear that. I hear, like, well, this happened, the wedding went here, we went over here, this broke down, and this tree fell through the window, and, I knew right then this was going to be a mistake, and, and then some of it's really awful and heartbreaking, and then some of it is like, money is involved in a lot of it, and it's like, okay, so you're going to look at a man in prison and think he's a good pick, like Captain Mark Richards, right? And then you're gonna think, oh, this is like, I thought I was gonna come home. Really? Did you? Because, like, when you marry somebody like that, you gotta figure that they're probably not going to come home, and you're probably okay with them being in prison, and you're okay with just seeing them once in a while in their jail, for conjugal visits or whatever, and having, the spiritual connection in the writing and in the connection that you enjoyed. She did tell about that, right? But to think that one day he was going to come home because a miracle was going to happen, I think is really, I'm not sure I buy it. Either it's really, really naive, or she just knew, well, he had a lot of money. And so, hey, why not marry this guy in prison, live in his house in Marin County, go have a few conjugal visits once in a while, and, have a great time. And I can do my thing. I can write my books. I can do whatever. And, I'm going to be living there for free. I'm in Marin County. I'm going to love living in Marin, right? It's near, it's up in the Bay Area. It's rich area. I get to be in that area. It's nice, right? Not someone's not going to come bang on your door. Not saying this is a bad area, but you're not gonna like get distracted because somebody's like, pounding on your door and going, Gabriel, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen in Marin County. So, and then, hey, you know what? I mean, who knows? Maybe like Captain Mark Richards will kick the bucket, and I'll get all the money. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and there's a little bit of fame, I guess, like marrying somebody who, like, it's like being with one of the Melendez brothers. Mm-hmm.
Anniversary, and here's what I'd like to do if I was home for your birthday. And he just made it all sound good, unless it wasn't. And then it was like, then at some point, well, because he had told me he had sold an asset that he supposedly has, and he was going to have a friend start working on the house. And I go, there's way too much that needs to be done to the house, even to rent it. And it's like, I can't live there right now the way it is. It's just driving me crazy. And it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it up properly, even to rent it. Well, it's like, I'm not taking out a loan for your house. The house was not even community property. It's in a trust for him. So
I
like
think his legacy had already sailed down a river, and so he needs to just sell the house.
Yes.
And
it probably will have to be sold, because I've been gone for 3 years and the house hasn't gotten any better shape, and I've still paid for trees falling down, and I finally stopped paying for everything. And in the midst of all this, and we finally, back in November, we finally agreed, okay, yeah, we probably
Something. And hold on.
to the visits.
Okay, there's the size 2.
what kind of
Do I look like I'm
relationship?
68? Please.
No.
Do you
not
see
at
Vermin the gray
all.
hairs? Okay, thank you.
No, but I
know.
just don't understand what he expected. He is behind bars, and you guys aren't really even supposed to embrace. You're not.
Well,
what
actually,
kind of-
we could. You get to a point where they allowed lifers to have family visits back.
Do you get conjugal visits?
We after probably 15 years of marriage, after several years of marriage, we did get them back, or we did get them. But it wasn't great. I mean, it was fun. He liked to cook, and he'd pamper me that way. He'd cook, and we'd play games, and we'd watch movies. But it's like, okay, where's the kissing? where's the making out, dude? It's like, oh, you should have tried to be prettier. It's like, you're just telling me this now? And I know he always had a thing about my weight, because I was thin maybe once, but that was because I was over medicating on thyroid medicine, which I should, not intentionally. I'm never going to be a size 2. I can't, it's not in my nature. I did not get the thin genes in my family.
That shouldn't even matter.
It should not.
Supposed to even see the light of day again, and you still married him. So if you were a damn pig, he should be thankful that you did everything that you did. That should not matter.
Yes. And if you saw us in visiting, you would have thought we were the most in love couple ever. For a long time we were. And, I saw him a couple months ago for the last time, just to go over logistics and finances and stuff and the divorce. And it's like, because he wasn't getting the documents, I said, okay, the documents have been filed. They're on the way. Yeah, I got them. Okay. So sign it and send it back. I'm not asking for any money, even though you owe me money. I'm not asking. It's like, well, I loved you. And it's like, yeah, you got a fine way of showing it. And I'll miss you. I go, I can't say that back. I hope we'll always be friends. Like, I can't say that back either. And, I go, I have to be done. He wanted his grandma's engagement ring back that I'd been wearing for 20 some odd years. And I said, well, I'm going to keep it at the house. I'm going to keep it for now till, if you've got a kid that wants to come get it from me, even though I'm not legally responsible for giving it back to you because it was a gift to me, it's like, I'll give it to one of your daughters if they will come get it, or if you want to send me to where they live to get it, but I'm just not leaving it at the house in a box, and I'm not going to mail it to any. It's like, yeah, no. So these weird things. And it's like, because I went to England 5 times, once on vacation, 4 times to speak at conferences about the military stuff he used to do. And that, I got paid some, but it never covered all the costs, especially not the flight to England. Not. It's like, well, you went on all these trips, but and you weren't taking care of my needs. Basically, it's like, I went to speak on your behalf. I wasn't just on vacation. Yes, I enjoyed England while I was there, but I was going mostly to places where you told me to go check out and research, and where you had done military things. It's like, I wasn't just fooling around. And it's just, it's really crazy, because my first book, I wrote about all the marriages, but he got 3 chapters of being a nice guy. And, we had this great relationship because we did until we didn't. And what it was like to visit somebody in prison and all that. And all these other wonderful, these passions that I have that I, get excited about. But it was like, all of a sudden I'm just the bad person. and all of a sudden I am the gold digger that, his family has always accused me of. And it's like,
gold digger for what?
Because supposedly he had all this money, which is like,
where the fuck was it?
I don't know, because it's not coming forward now. I go, okay, the divorce is final. Well, I need you to prove it. I go, I paid to have a copy sent to you. I can't help it if the prison didn't give it to you. The other trustee has a copy. She can prove to you that the divorce is final. Where's your money? You're supposed to start now giving her money to pay things for the house. So, I've cut off all my payments. I've cut off all the utilities. His stuff in storage might go to the dumpster. There's no mortgage on the house, but there's a little bit of money left on a line of credit that I just kept paying that was his mom's. And it's like, this is June. So in another month, the bank will start getting fussy. And they said, well, can we call him? I said, no, he's in prison, but you can write him. Here's his address. Tell him he's going to lose his house over less than $2,000. So now the other trustee is trying to, help him and do all this stuff. But it's like, I'm writing another book. It's like, and I shouldn't even be using this name. This is my maiden name. But it's like, I'm going to write another book. I'm not going to use his name. I haven't said his name here. But it's like, I want people to understand what it is. It's like, I had no idea this was a thing, this narcissism stuff, and how they can just gaslight you. And these letters I got since we split up, it's like, oh my God. And he doesn't even remember. See, this is the thing. He supposedly doesn't even remember. I go, you were really mean. I don't remember that. It's like, how could you? I got letters, dude. I've got all the mean letters. I have all your mean texts. It's like, how could you just let me? I'm not going to take that. And here's the, and I don't know if this is just him or if this is narcissism, but he's always like, he always told me, it's like, well, I think of women as pets. It's like, seriously? It's like, you grew up in the 50s. I get that. So did I. But I'm not June Cleaver. I'm not Donna Reed. I mean, I love being a homemaker, but, I'm not the best at it.
I've done something.
It's like,
stop
can
it.
you, what? Why did you marry me?
Talk in a moment.
I shouldn't have to tell you that. I married you.
He married you to keep up with his house.
And it's like, well, you can't tell me why you like me or why you married me. I shouldn't have to. Men don't do that. I go, yes, men do. Men or partners, do tell their partner why they like them. It's like, you can hardly give me a compliment.
He had ulterior motives.
Apparently.
I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there.
He had ulterior motives. He had ulterior motives. Give me a break.
If I could reach through the screen, I would strangle you. Because you're like, I did not meet his needs.
Right.
What about your needs?
That's right.
Okay.
The longest marriage you've had is because the man lived behind bars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. We probably would have gotten divorced right away. But
like, what about your needs? Compatibility, sex, companionship, to be able to go do things. Like,
I thought that was, I know, and do strangle me. I really don't, but I'm fine now. And I would tell young women today, run. If your man has gone to prison, run.
Right.
It's just, it's a very hard life. And again, coming from a codependent, I didn't realize I went right into another codependent relationship because it seemed like we were getting along and I was doing all these fun research projects for him. And I was going to all these conferences. And yes, I lived in a nice neighborhood, but okay, if you can't keep up, if like your neighbors are looking at you like, why is your house falling apart? It's like, I don't have enough money to keep fixing it, dude. And yeah. And it took me a long time to realize it's like, yeah, my needs are not getting met. And I would explain this to him and he had nothing. It's like, I would tell him, I would look at him in the face and I said, I'm a pretty amazing person. Nothing. I go, I'm this
was coming on and he's not going to feed into that because then you would have left him sooner.
I know. It's like, so I just said, my needs are not getting met. And then he would just, I would try and explain things calmly in letters. And then we'd start to talk. Oh, no, you were so mean in the letters. I go, I really wasn't. Have you read your letters? It's like, and I can be a bitch if I need to be, but here's what's not working for me. Like, here's my list. And it's just like, we just never addressed it. A good wife should, and all these sentences, they're part of my, comedy routine I'm developing, or the book. It's for both. But like, what about a good husband? It's like, what about this mutual serving?
A good husband isn't in prison for murder.
Yeah, true.
So how about we date people who are in form, like real human flesh?
Yes.
Form,
yes.
And we wait for at least a year of knowing them.
Okay, you know what? I don't know what I've done here. I'm going to redo it. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Oh shit! What did I do? Okay, let me go up. We're almost done. Okay, I'm gonna go up. I kind of accidentally. Okay, I just want to review some of what. Oh my god! I want to review some of what we've already heard. I'm kind of screwed it up there, but I think I found the right place. So like he didn't meet her needs, they're laughing, they're doing this girl talk, ha ha ha, what about your needs? What about what you need as a girl? I'm just like, I'm like, really? Like, I like, for me, I'm like, I can't get over the fact that he's in prison. Not all of it is really, it just feels very surface still. So the whole thing feels kind of shallow to me at this point. Okay. So that's my feeling about it. I don't know. Wait, I'm showing what some of you guys are saying on the screen. So hold on. Okay, go back. And she's writing a book. She's writing a book about him. I hung out to see if he was going to come up with his plan to fix things. It's to me, it still feels very me. Still on some levels, like, well, my needs weren't met. Well, blah blah. Not okay. So, but I don't think she made a really good choice to have certain needs met overall, which is like being stated here. But there's somewhere, and I missed it in the beat. But I think you guys heard it where she said she's working on a book about this. So there's like, see, this is a book. This is a story. This is like, and I started thinking about like, why is she on the show? Like this Crime Over Cocktails, like I read, if you go in, maybe we can go to like, there's a bio when I'm going to hit the bio, there'll be a bio about the podcaster in the show. And it's out of the realm of the genre of shows that she did. I've listened to a Lorien Fenton interview that she was on. Lorien Fenton did marketing for Revolution Radio and put together the Henderson, Nevada Super Soldier program alongside with Jerry Avalos and Carrie Cassidy, stuff like that. And and Lorien Fenton has kind of managed people. Like, she's gotten certain people onto like Coast to Coast, and she's been the liaison. So she's kind of had this management hat. And my instinct is, and I don't have proof for this, but it feels like this is something that Lorien Fenton might have gotten for her, or somebody. It feels like it's PR. It's like Joanne rebranding herself out of Captain Mark Richards' relationship. And I went through this journey, and I'm going through healing, but oh, by the way, I also write books and I do all these other things. And so, it's almost like, I mean, and why, like what is the purpose to explain her story of her life and her marriage to this man if there isn't an opportunity in it? That's how I see it. I mean, it's this PR. It's just like, she is a notable personality to talk about her divorce, when in fact, it could be something she got divorced. She goes to Portland and she lives with her daughter and, up with her daughter, and she embarks on the next phase of her life. She doesn't have to choose to put herself in the spotlight. So there's payoff in that. See, like author. See, she's an author. So it's Joanne Richards, prison wife, abuse survivor, author. See, it's like little tiny little package right there. That's true. I believe that. They're not. Don't be afraid to call the cops if you have to, right? Oh, right. Okay, so this is pretty much the broadcast. Like I want to see if I can share this. I guess that's it, right? Or I could go like this. Yeah. Interesting. The last four letters on this is 444, but I'm going to put this in the chat. All right. I'm also going to make sure that I source this. Like you guys, because if you want to, listen to it again or whatever, one of the things that, oh my God, I just changed share. I'm going to go back to the share for a second and just read the synopsis. And then I want to look at her website for a second. And then I'm going to open the panel up for discussion. Okay. So, in this episode of Crime Over Cocktails, I talked with my guest, Joanne Richards. Joanne takes us down her journey of 7 marriages involving abuse, divorce, death, and the incarceration for murder. I definitely give Joanne some tough love about some of the choices that she has made, but we could both agree that the only lifelong relationship you can count on is with one yourself. Self-love is the most important love of your life. I believe that. And again, because I'm really critical, right? I mean, I have to, I go through analyzing everything and what I feel and what you see and whatever. But my overall take, and again, yeah, like I don't think she's a bad person. Like Joanne is like a bad person, or I just don't buy some of it. Some of it like seems financially oriented. I sympathize with the abuse and the struggles and the struggle for love, and then the message at the end is really great, but we know that there's different ways to look at a thing, right? Okay, so Captain Mark Richards came out on the scene through Carrie Cassidy. Let's go through the little tunnel here. Let's connect these little dots through Carrie Cassidy. Carrie Cassidy is now pushing, well, she has, started in the beginning, really, the 17th letter of the alphabet, right? With conspiracy going with, 107, right? She's got Captain Mark Richards that she's been promoting. Captain Mark Richards is in prison for masterminding a murder of Richard Baldwin by kind of grooming 17-year-olds to do the murder for him. These kind of like lost boys, people that, somebody that needed some guidance, guys that had troubled teens, basically, troubled young men, youth, and gave them this sort of spirituality that had this Arthurian, legend theme, Camelot, Marin County, and, was able to give like almost like the Dungeons and Dragons aspect, this sort of like fantasy almost reason for these young guys to commit this murder. So you're not dealing with like it's not like, oh yeah, he worked for the military and blank 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 blank, and then Carrie Cassidy came along and made this guy a hero. So in a way, she has a following. She has Joanne is known to be his wife. And by the way, I saw one of the questions like, what's a picture of her? There is a picture of her in the thumbnail of the video. I think the picture that's there is maybe like when they got married, I think perhaps. So, but in the overall aspect of it, because like really, no matter how you look at it, whether you want to judge if she, my perception is that she was materialistic, may not be somebody else's perception of what this material is, or what the real story or the reason is. No matter how you look at it, it's fascinating to think that she married something like that she went on tour, that she promoted his the UFO stuff because she really believed it. Do you think that she really believes it, or do you think that she knew all along that this was an opportunity and an easy way for her to make some money or have some sort of security or step up in life? I do think when you listen to the overall body of her relationships, that each one she married for a benefit. There was something that I didn't feel like, oh, we fell in love. And I knew that this was the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. You know, like sometimes you think, or you imagine that you're going to have that feeling like this is the one, right? There's something that's really funny. Oh God, I should almost play it. Sam Kinison team. You know, do you remember? I don't know. Maybe some of you guys are too young to remember who Sam Kinison was, but he was the comedian that would scream like he'd go, oh, you know, I was married for 2 fucking years. You know, I mean, and then there's like what he would do this things like, you know, he goes, you meet someone, they go, this is love. This is love. Oh my God, I should try to find Sam Kinison, just for fun. You know, I met Sam Kinison actually. I met him in the hallway of the Comedy Store, and I remember shaking his hand. And I went to Sam Kinison's birthday party. You know, it was at a recording studio, and Corey Feldman was there when he was only 12, and I don't know how he was there. He looked like he was 12. And then Billy Idol. Yeah, I met Billy Idol too that night. Anyways, that was. See, I have these little weird flashbacks that happen to me when I do a show. So here I want to hit this for a second. Crime over cocktails. Welcome to your new age true crime podcast, talking with real survivors about real situations. You will get a large variety of topics, all having a few things in common. Trauma, mental health, and crime. Learn how trauma affects your body and ways to help you into recovery. If you know someone who could benefit off one of my episodes, please feel free to share my link with them. And I think that's cool. I mean, I think it's a good podcast. I mean, overall, you get a feeling of her journey and her own self-realization. And so in terms of the podcast, I think she accomplished it. That's my review, an Apple Podcast preview. Okay. Well, it says preview here. All right. So I'm going to stop the share there. I'm going to see what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Yeah, I love Sam Kinison. Okay, I'm gonna leave invite here. If anybody wants to join the stream and give your thoughts, you're more than happy to come up on the panel. I don't know. Let me see if I can find some Sam Kinison. If I have to cut it out for money reasons, I might have to cut out the classical music, but I don't care about that. That was just the intermittent trying to. I think it's David Becky says this is not making me feel relaxed. I wasn't sure it was making me feel relaxed either. Says, oh, there you are, Jeff.
Great show tonight.
Thank you.
Great show. God, how come I can't? I want to see the chat too. There it is. Yeah, Susie had.
Let me do it here.
She had a few questions that I wanted to address about Carrie Cassidy, but she's completely mental. Our mental health system is broken because if she was spewing the stuff she's spewing now, she'd be in a straitjacket. As an example, she thinks, Donald Trump is president and the late JFK Jr. is president. My kids even know who the president is. Hey, girls, girls, come here. Hurry up. They'll tell you. I mean, these are little kids. Come in here, hurry. All right, forget it. All right, Bella, come here. Come on. I just proven a point here.
Hi.
Who's the president of the United States, girls?
Joe Biden.
All right, go on. You want to say hi to Carrie and
Hi.
Hi,
who's the
Christina.
president? Who's the president? Say.
Joe Biden.
Okay.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Go in the other room. Yeah, I wanted to just clarify something. Everybody already knows that Richards is guilty of murder, but for her to insinuate, oh, he wasn't even there and all that, that is simply not true. He was at the murder scene. He lured Richard Baldwin away from Crossan Hoover. So Crossan Hoover could get a bat, and he bashed Baldwin's head in with it. Baldwin fell to the ground. He was gurgling, had his brains bashed in. As he was dying, he was saying, Mark, why are you doing this? Why? And then Mark Richards handed Crossan Hoover a knife and said, finish him. For Joanne to sit there and say that this never happened is BS, and she knows it. She also knows that his secret space story is BS. He was never in any military. We have documented evidence of that. And we got pictures of him at Dominican College in 1972. Basketball pictures of him on the team when Joanne claims he was in Vietnam flying as a helicopter pilot. She knows his whole story is BS. And I'll tell you something else. This is my thoughts on it. I like Joanne. We've had, very civil conversations on the phone. I told her, we probably talked about 4 or 5 times on the phone. And I told her I respect the fact that she stands behind her husband. But I don't buy his story, because the first time we talked, she asked me if why I didn't come to her with this project that I'd been trying for 5 years to get somebody to make it. And Kevin Moore finally agreed to it. She said, why didn't you just come to me with it? And I go, why? So you can spew this BS? My family, my mother and father grew up in San Rafael where this happened. My grandparents lived there. My uncle was a cop in San Rafael when this happened. I knew this story inside and out. When I first started hearing about it some years ago, I'm like, this can't be the same Mark Richards when Cassidy was spewing this. And I was like, oh my God, it is. And they keep saying he was off planet. Well, eventually, I guess it was about 2 years ago. I don't know. They changed their story and said Mark Richards was having lunch with his kids. Or with his mom and dad when the murder took place. He wasn't there. That there is evidence, physical evidence he was there. They when Crossan Hoover, I mean, you've heard some of Kevin's excerpts of it on his channel describing the murder. It is so gruesome.
Oh yeah, I played that on one of the shows that I have.
Yeah, and Richard, and Richards was right there. But not only that, they were 17, and yes, somebody in the chat said grooming. Yes, he was grooming them. He would groom them for quite a while. They had sleepovers at Richard's house where they did drugs, cocaine. These are minors. These are 17-year-old kids. Crossan had a very, very a very troubled childhood, and I feel bad for the guy, but Richards, he tried to groom other people too. And then what they did is they and he was no contractor. He did little shit jobs, and every one of them came back on him. Like he'd pour a little piece of concrete at a church, and they were he didn't even have a contractor's license. As a matter of fact, he got busted using his brother. It was his brother-in-law when he was married to his first wife, Karen Bacon. He was a contractor, and Mark Richards used his contractor's license number. And those jobs came back on him. They called, the contractor. He said, I'm not. He said, no, he doesn't work for me or whatever. Oh yeah, he was never nothing. On top of that, he was involved in a car theft ring. Before that, now Mark Richards is just cons everybody, uses everybody until he doesn't need them anymore. And yeah, he's a narcissist, and that's what he did to Joanne. That's what he did to Joanne. I think there's a little more to it. Lois Richards, his mother, and I can't think of his father's first name right now, but I know he was in the military. He was a test pilot. But they spent their life savings on defending Mark, not just for this, but for the car theft ring. And they had a very good, expensive attorney. What's his name? Shapiro, who was even part of OJ's dream team. They used several rulings that were in the Manson case in Richard's trial. Not just one, there were several. I read all the 3,000 pages of court documents on this. And yeah, to even insinuate he had nothing to do with it. And these little kids, some of whom were staying with him, it is just absurd. Absurd. And to even suggest Mark Richards was in the military is even more absurd. And like you said, stolen valor. I get a little ticked off, but over the years I've calmed down because she knows full well the story's BS. And so does Carrie Cassidy. And what Cassidy's doing now is such a joke. I would tell some of you where you can find her, but I don't want to plug her. I don't want to send you links where to find her spewing her crap. Oh, okay. Susan.
That's an interesting question.
This is important. How did Carrie get to know Mark Richards in the first place? Julian Salt, who helped fund our documentary, he was at a conference in Sacramento many years ago, and Carrie was there. Julian Salt already knew Mark Richards. He was already on his visiting list to go visit him at the Solano State Prison, which is about 25 minutes south of Sacramento, headed towards the Bay Area. And he said he had to go, and he said what he was doing. And Carrie goes, "Where are you going?" And he's the one that told her about it. So Cassidy talking about how she knew about this case long before she started Project Camelot is more BS. It's pure BS. When Cassidy's mouth is moving, she is lying. She is a nut job. She is a complete nut job.
It's always a funny job. That's a funny joke no matter who you use in the setup. When a politician is moving their mouth, you know they're lying. How do you know a politician is lying? They're moving their lips.
Yeah.
How do you know a drug addict is lying? They're moving, their lips are moving.
Oh, but yeah, the following that Cassidy still has, those poor people, what are they? They need to get a life. It's unfortunate. Well, they want to pay $30-$50 to listen to that mental case, spew a bunch of garbage. They're living in the same world we all are. We know who the president is. We know who the vice president is. And it's not some late.
Wait, who's the vice president?
No, I'm kidding. That plane crash in the 90s.
Some lady that,
Oh, yeah. But I really came on here. This was a great show. I feel bad for Joanne. She got conned by him. But then again, I also feel she had an ulterior motive. Now, the house, Marin County is the second most expensive real estate in this country. I've been to the house. My kids that you just saw have been to the house. And Kevin Moore, we went there. And it's not on a big lot, but it is smack dab in the middle of a very expensive neighborhood. They bought it, I think, in the 30s or maybe early 40s. It's a 1-bedroom. Mark lived downstairs in the cellar. We didn't go up there. We didn't trespass, but I could see a tarp over the roof where it was leaking. Like Joanne said, trees are falling down, but it is prime real estate. it is definitely lowering the property values of the homes around it. They're all multi-million-dollar homes. Whoever buys it when they can finally get rid of that eyesore is probably going to bulldoze the house and then build whatever it is. But that's Mark's fate.
See, now this is an interesting comment. I'm interrupting for a second, but it's no coincidence she started Project Camelot. Well, she started Project Camelot.
That is.
But it's somewhat. I don't think it is because she.
No, it is.
Carrie, well, that's a coincidence. But Carrie believes that she's got a Camelot thing. She thinks she's Guinevere reincarnated.
She's attaching herself to it. They have what's called the Renaissance
Project Avalon.
They have what's called the Renaissance Fair. You can Google it. It's very popular, has been since I was a little kid in the area, and it takes place up by Nevada, which is the next town up from San.
Oh, look at this. Hold on, I'm interrupting again. How did he afford Shapiro?
They put their house up. They put their house up. They put their house up.
And that was a pre-trial. That was this is before he committed. He did the murder thing happened. This was like a car arrest or a car stealing or something.
The car theft ring. Mark skated on that, but they did hire him. He skated on that. His co-conspirators got busted. They went to jail. I'm not going to speculate on why Mark doesn't sleep with Joanne, but his first wife, Karen Bacon, when he was going to Dominican College, which is a very prestigious Catholic college in San Rafael. Kevin and I, my kids have been there. It's a beautiful place. It's very prestigious. He had a professor who was known homosexual that lived in the city, and Karen Bacon said he used to spend more time over there than he did at home. So, who knows? Who knows? I don't have a problem with gay people at all. I'm just saying, he just used Joanne. If you don't mind, I would like a copy of the court docs. Sorry, John. I used to live in Paradise. We were wiped out by the Paradise Fire. And I lost all of that stuff there 5 years ago, which is when I kind of dropped off doing the documentary with Kevin. I don't know when the docuseries is going to come out or if it is ever going to come out. I talk to Kevin quite often. He always tells me that, but at this point, I don't care. Everybody knows. But for John, for 3,000 pages, I think it was 3,000, close to it, pages of those documents that we got at the Marin Civic Center courthouse, which is a huge building that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous architect. We paid, I don't know, it's like $1,800 for all those. And then, Kevin has them, and I did have them. I lost it all, but I read through all of them, and a lot of them more than once. After what it was, they were pouring a piece of concrete at Richard Baldwin's house, and Richard Baldwin restored classic cars. He had some nice cars, and Mark said, "Hey, this is Crossan." They also had Andrew, now his name escapes me. There was 3 of them there. He was the other co-conspirator. It'll come to me. But he stayed there, and he told Baldwin that Crossan was interested in buying one of his cars. So they drove to his shop into a secluded area. It's about 3 miles away from his house. Went in the shop. It was all a ruse. It was all a setup. They planned on murdering him. Then when they did this gruesome murder, I guess they kind of rolled his body up into some tarp or something. They went back to the house. This was in the daytime. And where they proceeded to, Crossan was spun. He was just out of his mind. He was of no use then. He was, he just committed this heinous act. And Mark and Andrew started looting the house. He had a closet. It was locked. I guess he grew weed in the back. He had a room in the backyard or up behind his garage where he had indoor growing. Because we went to that house too and did some filming. And my daughters were there too, as they were in the chat earlier tonight. And the guy we talked to, he knew exactly why we were there. And this happened in 82 or 81. He said he helped Richard Baldwin build the weed growing thing. So they found a big bag of weed, about $2,500. There were some guns and credit cards. They were going to come back. Wait a second. I'm reading Susie's thing.
Carrie has not interviewed Mark Richards.
Susie, I'll tell you my take on why she interviews him. So she can come out with outrageously new information that no one else is covering. I'll guarantee you most of it she just makes up. She even gets money to go visit him. And I know of two times that she was actually there. She'll post a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge and then come out with the new Mark Richards info. No one else is covering it. And it's always he said, she said.
Do you put up videos, Jeff?
Videos. I do, but music, nothing covering this. I do music videos. Yeah. Sorry, Robert Redmond. And it's new information, and nobody can question it. John, I think she only visited him twice that I know of. The very first time where she meets Joanne at a McDonald's or something and they go. And then there was the time when she didn't dress right. Because I've been to that prison. My friend was in that prison. I visited that prison over 100 times.
What was it like she had a see-through blouse on or something like that? Where you could see her and it was like...
He started calling me a CIA agent and stuff on her Facebook page. And I said, yeah, that's right.
Who said that?
Carrie. I said, that's right. I'm a CIA agent. And our boss at Langley,
I've been called that too. So,
and I said, and our boss at Langley, Virginia is going to give us all a big bonus for the first one that brings you down because we're tired of you getting the truth out. And she went off on me. Why is she even calling me a CIA agent, But whatever, this is what she does. She ran with it on Project Avalon. They laughed their asses off at her. But I said, oh, yeah, and we all know that you're making a move on Mark Richards because I've heard what's been said, and even Joanne knows, and I was making this up. I was being sarcastic. I said, yeah, you went to that prison. You were wearing those pumps, the see-through blouse and all that. I had no idea what she wore, but it wasn't appropriate prison attire. When you go there, like me, I couldn't wear any blue jeans or anything like that, anything that sort of mimicked what an inmate might wear. So she had to go to the Friends Outside trailer, which is out there on the prison property, and borrow clothes to go in and see him. So she got all mad and did a video, and she was wearing whatever she was wearing at the prison. And she says, you're so full of shit. This is what I'm wearing. Can you see through this? Thank God we couldn't. All right. I just don't find her attractive at all. But so they went back. So what they really got was about $2,500 in cash, which they bought a boat that night. They got some weed, they got some credit cards, they got some guns. They bought a little boat. Crossan and Andrew and Mark almost got caught They went back to Baldwin's shop at night. His wife, Karen Bacon, goes, I remember that night very well because I was watching Heart to Heart when he said he'd be gone late. He's out dumping a body. It's not funny, but they almost got caught putting it in the boat because the harbor master's thing was closed. So they got a security guard there. And they had guns that they got from his house. And they talked their way out of it. They got the body in the boat and took it out in the bay. And then Mark and Andrew, they lost their nerve. They couldn't wrap it up and throw it over there. And then the engine broke or something. They ended up crossing, stepped in, here, I'll do it. And they wrapped it up with the outboard motor and sank it. And they practically had to paddle all the way back. Yes, I need one. All right, you go get one. Thank you, Bella.
Oh, that looks good.
Basically, they went on a spending spree. Credit cards. Mark Richards doing it. Back then they had Matthews TV and Stereo, Top of the Hill, Daily City. They, beat those commercials to death on the local rock stations in the Bay Area. He went there. He bought, VCRs, things like that. Bought jewelry for his wife. Well, one of the kids' older brother, Andrew, I think it was Andrew's older brother. One of them, Mark hired all kids. But this guy was 18. Mark owed him money. He went over there. A couple of nights later, they had a safe. It was Richard Baldwin's safe. They were trying to break into it. It was in the garage. He wanted his money, and Mark said, here, he gave him a gun. It was stolen from Baldwin. He goes, this is worth way more.
Where can we find your link at? What is it, like the name of your channel again?
All right, let me finish this first. I'll put it in there.
Okay.
He said, hey, don't sell it. Don't give it to anyone. He immediately put two and two together because it was hitting the news, and he gave that gun directly to the police. He had talked to the police. Oh, and Mark gave his wife some jewelry, necklaces, and she goes, oh, I guess we'll be selling weed now for a while too. Yeah, they were all just partying. Mark, this is such a senseless tragedy, orchestrated by a complete moron, Mark Richards. And these were little kids. And I could go into detail about how he got, I remember Joanne saying that Mark's family vacationed in Scotland with a family talking dinosaurs. Yeah. Joanne's going to say a lot of things, all right? You need to go in the other room. I can't have you in here, please. I don't want to talk about it in front of her, even though they know everything. They know more about Mark Richards than Joanne does. And that was 5 years ago when we went on that. Yeah, no, Mark has no money. The house is dilapidated. He conned her there. But at what point?
He said Scotland was where the dinosaurs could really let their hair down and be themselves. That's hilarious.
What dinosaurs have hair?
I know. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
We even had, Kevin even had the DA that prosecuted the case. You can see it on his channel, what he said about it. But the two detectives, I read the two detectives that were questioning Richards. Richards thought he was real smart. He was taking police science or whatever at Dominican. And he thought he was outsmarting them. And he just buried himself. He tried to pin it all on the kids. But had he clammed up, when they brought him in, arrested him, and had him in for questioning, he'd be a free man today, even how gruesome this murder is. But no, he didn't, because he's so smart. But hey, 1 second here.
Okay.
I will
Get your channel.
Yeah. I got 3 actually. I've been on YouTube for since 2007.
Well, I think I'm gonna like pretty much. I think probably maybe we should start to wrap it up a little bit because
I'm wrapping it up right
it's
now.
turning into a 3-hour
I
thing.
just
No,
wanted
I'm
to
not
say
saying.
those things, and I wanted
I was
to.
thinking maybe too. I might try to close out with a Sam Kinison routine, and then if I have to cut it out later for copyright, I can do it later. But
Well,
for
I
now,
put it in there for. I don't know why anyone would be interested in my channel. It's for music people, anyways. And I'm an old goat, so what they like isn't probably going to be on my channel. I like what I grew up with or what I'm into. But anyways, yeah, I just really wanted to clarify that there is absolutely zero evidence that Mark Richards ever served a day in the military. As a matter of fact, his first wife, Karen Bacon, said he hated the war. He hated the military. But Joanne only wants to see what she wants to see, and to sugarcoat this. You heard her going on about, well, he pinched me in the arm, and I thought that was really inappropriate.
yeah.
Marries a fucking, sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. She marries a convicted, and this wasn't just an accidental murder. This was planned and premeditated, and you would not believe the number of lives this destroyed. Not just the kid. Andrew got immunity to testify against the other 2. Crossan, what he did was so heinous. He's where he belongs, in my opinion. I'm on his visiting list, but I don't want to go visit him. I'm not involved in this documentary anymore. Sure, Kevin and I are friends, as he is with you. We talk quite a bit. And, the plot just keeps getting thicker and thicker. So I'm going to let you wrap it up.
You're getting big kudos though.
Oh, thank you. I tried for 5 years to get this project made. I took it to everybody. I trolled the hell out of anybody that would have Joanne on or Carrie Cassidy plugging this guy. He's a creep. I remember the case quite well when it was happening. And then Kevin Moore was the only one that listened to me, and he didn't right away. He had Joanne, I think, on, and I trolled it, and he sent me his email. He never responded back. And then he had Carrie Cassidy on a year later. And towards the end of the interview, he mentioned,
when will the Moore documentary be released?
Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. I don't know if it ever will, because it was supposed to be released 5 years ago. But he had Carrie Cassidy on, and then at the end of the interview, he brought up the fact that someone contacted him. He was talking about me, and Cassidy, without even knowing who I am or anything, well, this person is probably CIA or a light worker taken over by the dark side, just coming up with excuse after excuse. And
wow.
She doesn't even know me. Oh, she knows me now. You mention my name to her, she'll trigger. She goes nuts. And it all had to do with what I said earlier about wearing those pumps and the sheer, the see-through blouse and all that, making a move for it. But I feel that Joanne thought she was going to get his house. And she made it quite clear that, I don't know if she knew about the trust before she married him or not. She used to take care of his mother. But his mother, Lois Richards, she made it that way.
No, okay,
Right.
like the way, because like when you listen, and before we go, I just want to make this point. When you listen to her story about, there's this whole thing about the mother and this and that visiting, she was visiting, like it's like I said, it's kind of convoluted in here, and that's the missing link. She was taking care of her mother.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
that was
about like Mark through being part of.
I'm not buying the part where her friend goes to the prison and like, hey, I met this guy there. You ought to meet him. No, she was taking care of Joanne. She was getting paid to do that.
Her mother
was
was
bad as hospice. But there was a young neighbor girl.
That's a very important key right there, I think.
There is you're right. There's a young neighbor girl that they liked, and she is the one that is in the trust to inherit the house. She knew that was all Mark Richards had. That was his leverage to get somebody like Joanne to go out and plug him. This is his booze, all the attention he gets from creeps like Carrie Cassidy. And Carrie Cassidy's got quite the track record. Let's not leave out Bill Brockbrader,
Oh, yeah. Bill
Brockbrader. It goes on and on. And Bill Ryan.
A watch list from.
And Bill Ryan, the art thief. Right. And Sean David Morton, the investment expert.
Yeah, Sean David Morton.
No, Dr. Sean David Morton, PhD. That's what he goes by now. Don't ask me where he got his PhD.
Sam's doing time. His next book, Sam's doing time. That's your.
Like that,
Yeah, I always think that's funny. That's the Jeff line. I'm just stealing it.
Well, he had his first book, The Sands of Time.
Right. And now it's The Sands of Time.
She was doing something about him, and I go, I can't wait for his new book to come out. His second book, The Sands of Doing Time.
Oh God.
Yeah, by Dr. Sean David Morton, PhD. God, I guess that's the new one, because for a while there it was he's ex-CIA. Cassidy.
Sean David Morton?
No, but that's what these
I'm not calling him doctor. I'm sorry. I don't know him as doctor.
Doing. That's what these people were doing. Cassie. Oh, here's my next guess. He's ex-CIA. Oh,
right. Like
wow.
Steve Kelly, an ex-CIA
That's
contractor.
A credible source. We should really trust the CIA. That's a credible source. If it was even true, which it isn't. Yeah. Yeah, she
like
said
Robert David Steele.
He got a burn notice when he worked
There's
with the
an ex-CIA person she's had on her show a lot, Robert David Steele.
Yeah, well, he's pushing up daisies now.
They say. I think maybe he faked his death.
Oh, yeah, probably. Maybe he was off planet.
Right.
He's working with inmate Richards.
Dr. Charlie Ward. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Charlie Ward. Was Kevin threatened, or has he run out of money for the doc? Money's always an issue with Kevin, Susie Frazier. He's in the process of becoming a legal American citizen, and it makes it very hard for somebody going through that limbo to even get a regular job, because you're talking green cards and stuff like that. I hear all these rumors about illegal aliens coming here, and they're put up in 5-star motels, and they're getting $3,800 cash a month and benefits to live on. Well, I asked Kevin, and he said that's not true. So I don't know where that's happening at, other than on the internet.
Almost like it would be funny to do a routine like you're faking it to be an illegal alien just to get the $3,500 cash. Really, I'm not an American. I'm not. I know I sound good. I speak like I'm an American, but I'm really not American.
I thought that
you get some cash.
Yeah, I thought the woman conducting the interview was great for Joanne.
Yeah.
Hello, he's in prison, and I liked how she kind of crept up on that. Well, how long's he in prison for, and what did he do? Well, he's innocent. talk to everybody in prison. They'll all tell you they're innocent. They all got a bum rap. He has exhausted every appeal he ever did. Now he's in there. He's a spokesman for some veterans or something. That's getting taken care of now, too. He is not going to be a spokesman anymore pretty soon, because he's stealing valor. But, they can, that just shows you how nuts he is.
And it's also shows you how far people will go to like push that lie.
Yeah, that's all he has to live for. It's all this attention.
Nah.
That's all he has to live for. Without that, he was lucky he didn't get the gas chamber, and it was still in effect in San Quentin. His lawyers, there was more than one, they didn't even try to defend him. They knew he was guilty. They had him. All they did was save him from the gas chamber. That's all they did. Yeah, I see here where you said he lost tons of weight. He lost tons of money too, I heard.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm gonna like kind of wrap up the show here. Thank you.
Good night,
Jeff,
Terry, and stay
bit.
safe and try not to let them get to you. And
Thanks.
remember, I got these two little sharpshooters here.
Yes.
Yeah, we just got back from the range. All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Bye. Bye, Jeff. All right. So thank you guys, everybody, for coming in and for watching the show tonight. I'm going to, just because I'm just going to do a shameless plug, but well, actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to plug anything tonight. I'm just going to like end the show. But I thought it would be really fun to show. I found some Sam Kinison videos, and so if I have to edit it out later, but for tonight, I'm going to close with Sam Kinison's routine on marriage, and I think this one is probably the one we want to watch. Okay, so everybody, the late great Sam Kinison is going to close Not My Rabbit Hole tonight. And I wish you guys all a wonderful week coming up. God bless you. And thanks for tuning into the show. Make sure you like and share. No. I feel so like my cousin always goes, well, do you ask people to like and share? You ask them to like and share, right? I go, yeah, okay. But I feel kind of cheesy doing it sometimes. Okay, here we go.
Home. I don't have a car. I didn't eat yesterday.
Let's go. I loved him. He was the best. Good night, everybody.